Welcome back to the channel, guys. If you're interested in vocal technique, pick up my ebook called Becoming a Natural Singer, or if you want one-on-one help, book a lesson through my website or drop me an email, links in the description. So I want to talk about progress, relative progress, because I often notice with myself and with students that it's easy to get demoralized for one reason. And that reason is we're listening to the 1% constantly. And what I mean by that is we're listening to professional singers all day long. So we have this super high bar that we're constantly listening to, and everything else below that, they're not professional singers. They're coming to coaches like me to get help. They are in pub bands. They are performing on the streets. You know, they are people who are not professionals, or they may be professionals, but they're not the types of professionals that people, you know, really look up to as singers or as musicians. We listen to the 1% constantly. Now, for somebody like me who coaches and works with students of various skill levels across the spectrum, from absolute beginner to more professional, I get a relatively broad range of skill to see and experience, and also through open mics. That's another good way. You tend to get some good singers, you tend to get some average singers, you tend to get some not so good singers at places like that. So you get a better idea of the spread of skill and ability when it comes to singing. But if you're just listening to your favourite bands all day, if you're just listening to your favourite singer-songwriters all day long and nothing else, you kind of have this warped perception of what singing is, in a sense, or what good singing is. Yes, that is great singing. The 1% sing very, very well. But it's not necessarily useful in terms of your own progress to be completely focused on that. Because what you'll find is, if you're somebody in this spectrum of struggling or not finding quite your way yet as a singer, is that if you judge your progress based on the 1%, you're going to feel like you're getting nowhere. So you have to judge your progress relative to yourself and where you're at. And this takes time, and it takes experience of where you're at with your skill level, where the spectrum really is. What is a real struggling singer, hard case? What are they going through? You should know that. What are most average singers going through in terms of their difficulties? A lot of people sing pretty good, but as soon as they open their mouth, they tend to yell and get a bit wide. But most of the time they sound quite nice. But in various contexts, they struggle. That's where most people sit, a lot more so than the 1% who are just balanced and able to do whatever they want most of the time. Once you get an idea of that spectrum, and you have more context in terms of the spectrum of ability and skill within singing, you can be easier on yourself. Because for me, when I started, everything was hard, everything was strained, everything was pushed, everything sounded bad. Now, I would make progress doing the exercises, following great coaches who I looked up to and still do. And I would make a bit of progress, but I'd be completely demoralized because I'd be listening to singers I worshipped, like Eva Cassidy and Jeff Buckley at the time. And I'd be like, oh my God, I still suck. Why aren't I good yet? Where's this silver bullet that's going to turn me into that singer? I didn't realize that there was no silver bullet. I was where I was, and that I was going to have to take baby steps and gradually improve my skill set. So back then, improvement for me that I should have been happy with was, wow, I only sound bad 75% of the time now. Whereas a few months ago, I sounded bad 90% of the time. But I wasn't able to look at it that way then. Further on in my journey, I sounded good maybe 60 or 70% of the time. And when I improved and kind of sounded better 80% of the time, or good 80% of the time, I still feel awful about that 20%. for most of my journey, I wasn't able to look back and appreciate how far I'd come because I was always focused on the 1%, and many people suffer with this. As I coached more, it got easier for me to understand where I was at and where I was going. But also, as you get better, it generally becomes easier to deal with singing and progress as a singer anyway, because you start to see, okay, I'm getting better at this now. You know, I'm kind of getting good at this now. You start to feel more confident in what you're doing, and you feel closer to your goals. It gets a lot easier in that sense. But back to my point. The point is this. Maybe you just master one exercise and get it balanced through your bridge, and that's the first thing you've discovered in terms of really good coordination, tension-free coordination in your voice. Celebrate that. Rather than looking at the 1% and thinking, but man, I still sound awful a lot of the time, think, yeah, but I cracked that exercise. I can get on that butt exercise right through my bridge with connection, with consistent vowel, with confidence, and I couldn't do that 2 months ago. I was all over the place. Now I'm boo, 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 boo. Get in there. Yes. I'm moving up a notch. You've got to start thinking about your progress within your context. Where are you at? What is your skill level? And have you taken a step forward in the last month, 2 months, 3 months? Are you improving every day? Are you a better singer than you were? That's all that matters. If you work at singing long enough and you work at it consistently every day and it's your primary focus, eventually you're going to get good. I don't care who you are, you just will eventually. The challenge is, for some people, that can be a 15-year journey. For myself, for example. Whereas for other people, it might be just a 2-year journey. And that time frame, nobody can do anything about it. It is what it is. Wherever you're at, distance yourself from the 1%. Don't get bogged down in so much in where you want to be and I'm not there yet. Just think about, I've got to take a step forward today. I'm a better singer than I was. And man, I only suck 50% of the time now. I used to suck 80% of the time. This is real progress for struggling singers. I'm not joking. I'm making jest of it, but it is genuine, serious progress. To go from sounding bad and pushed and strained all the time to having some release some of the time is a massive step for a real struggling hard case. But most of them will be down about it. Most of them will be like, oh man, I still suck. I still suck at this. Work voice. Unfortunately, that mentality only makes it harder. And as you get better and you're able to remain calm when you vocalize, even that will help you improve, because it's technique and your emotional state as you vocalize that really come together to create a great voice. Calm, cool, collected, do not care, let's just puke it out, no problem. This is the mindset that leads to good technique. And it tends to follow the discipline with the scales that you develop and learn, but you've got to bring those two things together. And you're only going to get that if you've got the right perspective on where you're at and what is progress for you in your context, where you're at this time. Celebrate it and enjoy it, because I promise you, you don't want to be like me, miserable for 10 years, trying to get good, and then still realizing I'm not really the singer I want to be yet. It's miserable. Nowadays, I'm a lot more happy about things because of this realization and working with other singers and understanding, okay, you can't just judge yourself against the 1% all the time. It's not healthy. You know, it's like running the 100 meters in 15 seconds and then being super depressed that I'm not Usain Bolt, you know. It's madness. It's madness. But unfortunately, we just don't get this exposure unless we're a voice coach, we're going to open mics, we're watching average singers all the time. We don't get the context. You go to YouTube, you know, you watch some like covers, acoustic covers of songs that you might like. As soon as you find one that's not good, you just click onto the next one. Well, that's the problem, is we aren't interested in average singers, unfortunately. We are addicted to the 1%. So back off from the 1%, start understanding there's a spectrum, start enjoying your progress, and start accepting where you are and appreciating the real important things about this journey, rather than getting bogged down with finding a silver bullet and how am I going to get to that singer I want to be right now. It's not going to work that way. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. How are you improving? How do you deal with this conundrum of relative progress, of tapping yourself on the back when you're doing well versus getting too down about you're not quite where you are yet, want to be yet? Thumbs up, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.